Welcome to Hug Nation. It is May 3rd, and before we get started, let's have a moment to recalibrate and come to the present. Take a deep breath. Turn off the phone if you've got it around, and become aware of your surroundings as the sensations come to you. What are the sounds? Try not to label them, just hear them. The whoosh, vroom, chirp, 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 chirp. Just become aware of the stimulus, not the symbols that they are, not what they represent, just the stimulus that you receive. In this now moment, all the stories of the last few days, all of our opinions and objectives and little battles, they don't exist. Those are stories. In this now moment, all that exists is this moment. And so whatever brought us together to share this moment, whether live or on archive, we are grateful for this opportunity to be present and surrender to love, to a higher vibration, to a connection. We lack nothing in this moment. There is no conflict in this moment. There is only an awareness, appreciation, and gratitude. Thank you, universe, for all of these gifts. Help us to focus on the blessings that surround us. Amen. Well, welcome. So, not sure if you have been online in the last few days. It's been, got some little gnats going around. I don't know if you can see them on camera, but they're distracting. I look like a crazy person. So this afternoon, discussed a lot of the topics that I put in recent essay about the death of bin Laden and the emotions and the reactions and the celebrations that followed. And then also the comments and the issues that came up in the discussion, the 50 comment discussion that followed that essay, which is by far the most comments I've ever gotten on anything, which is kind of a painful reminder of why the news talks about inflammatory issues, because that's what people pay attention to. Shame on us. But this afternoon, I kind of struggle with those things, and I realize there's so much depth, and there's so much emotions, and there's so much... It's just not black and white. Some people I really trust and really like and really respect have given me a lot of perspectives that while I don't fully embrace, I get it. And I respect that. And so hopefully the landscape in our country allows for these discussions. I'm not anti-military. I'm not anti-anyone or anything. I'm pro-dialogue. I'm pro-discussion. I'm anti-simplification. You know, there was a time when propaganda could get us worked up into an us versus them mentality that made sense. I just don't think that we can have that anymore. And if we can acknowledge, I also think that the powers that be have not shown themselves to be so trustworthy that we can necessarily trust or believe or accept when we are told who and what are the negative things that we need to be afraid of. I'm not talking specifically about bin Laden. There's a man who took credit for 3,000 civilian innocent deaths. But even in this war of potentially good and evil, lots of lines get crossed. You know, in the heat of battle, someone takes a picture of a dead body while gloating. How is that interpreted? And so being aware that there are people on both sides that feel like they have ideals at stake, I think is critical if we're ever going to get to a stage where, you know, it's not an us versus them. Winning has to be redefined. That being said, I don't think I want to talk about this anymore, or at least not in the same way. So I want to talk a little bit about, and I haven't really thought this through, I want to talk about staying calm in the storm. We talk so much about Hug Nation, about becoming aware of your story, becoming aware of the labels and the identity and the personality, and becoming aware of how much of that personality is actually things that have been layered on top of you as you've been socialized and grown up. And that the process of growth and awakening is really kind of becoming critical over that stuff. How much of these values are things that you really care about? How much of the things that you are striving for are things you really want? And how much of the debate that is ever going on is what your heart says versus what you have been taught and told? So often, more and more, I'm noticing dialogues and debates in Facebook, on TV, all sorts of places where it's not really people thinking and then having discussions. It's people taking some piece of news or information that they've received and then throwing it at the other person and trying to kind of, look how dumb you are, and building up this case for themselves. Human nature is such to pay attention to that which backs up what you already believe. We saw with the Martin Luther King Jr. quote that went viral. Oh, it was so beautiful that an MLK quote went viral, except that it was a misquote. Somebody tagged on something on the beginning of it that's made it more appropriate to the present day. Actually, I would argue that it was plenty appropriate without the addition. But it just shows that we are becoming a Tumblr culture where we see things and share it. See things, share it. See things, share it. We don't actually have experiences and share them. Experience is dangerously becoming a digestion of someone's analysis, and if that is the case, then the sources become critical. The stats become critical. And the news and whoever is informing us, have we ever had reason to trust these sources? Certainly, I don't feel like in the money at stake, the power at stake, the divide between those that have and those that have not, does not seem like the haves have enough motivation to play it straight and have integrity and just have their alliance be truth. Freakonomics talks about, understand the motivation and you understand people's actions. What's the motivation to give us a balanced, gray, nuanced understanding of world politics? There's no motivation in that. We already know that you look at any election, local or national, and what decides elections? Not nuances, obtuse, obvious, embarrassing levels of ooh. So the part that gets a little tricky is when you take that out. I mean, you can look at the conflict within our own country, people that share experiences, that share leadership and presidents, that share currency and share values and share sports teams and share all these things. The divisions within our own country have been so aggressive and violent lately. Look at the vitriol that comes out at some of these Tea Party rallies and think, if we can generate that much adversity within our own country, just imagine how much is generated in a country that, for whatever reason, feels like they've been wronged by us. Maybe not just us, maybe by the West, which we are, the cops of. And try to take that in a micro level. Look at, Southeast Los Angeles. How do the people there feel about the power structure cops? Even if the cops are trying to do their best, if they're not aware of the way they're perceived, they're not aware of, then you're just creating the environment for escalation, escalation, escalation. And I don't think in the new world, the way that, the borders are not clean cut anymore. And so the idea of winning has to change a little bit. Maybe the idea of the US being, undefeated, or sort of like that, never say die, never compromise, never apologize. I mean, you can see what military spending in that direction is doing to our country. Or maybe we don't see what it's doing to our country. Okay, that being said, these are all stories. None of the things that I've talked about has actually touched my life. So I think it's important to listen, critically listen to the sources you trust, critically listen to the people you trust, trying as much as possible to get as close as possible to people who have experiences and who are not doing a Tumblr like share, share, share. It's so easy to take a Jon Stewart soundbite and have that become your opinion about an issue, or a Glenn Beck soundbite, and that becomes your, and then you boom, boom, boom. If you can pull away from that, give yourself a time and place to have those discussions, and then pull into what's real for you. And what's real is this moment. And in this moment, the only thing you have control over are your thoughts. And I think that if there is something in this moment that you can be doing to alleviate suffering, to promote your ideals, then do those things. If that is not an option, then your job is to raise the level of your joy, to align yourself with love, and to quiet enough that you can feel the pull towards what feels right to you. Not the right that is been layered upon you in an us versus them, bad guys, good guys. No, what is right? And I think that's often a place of compassion. So, from this now moment, I become aware of what I have control over, who I am on the planet, the impact I have on the people I touch, physically, in connections with smiles, through the words I share on the internet, through the purchases I make, through the way I recycle my waste, through the amount of water I flush, through the car I drive. My activism is my life. And so getting away from this abstract fight into the now allows me, I think, to do real good. That isn't to say I'm closing my eyes to those things. I'm saying sometimes pick a window to look at those things and then pull away and go back to what you must do. Take care of your family. Compliment your friends. Let people know you care about them. The parts of your life you have control over are pretty simple. And I think that when you sit with them, what is the right thing to do is also pretty simple. And so then at the end of the day, when the gray areas start to get confusing, what have I done? My day consisted of sharing joy, being honest, speaking my truth, seeking what is my truth, validating those that I feel have been brave in their quest, uplifting those that may not have the energy to stand. And I think that as we fall into the us and them battles, we forget that when the anger it goes away, most people have these exact same desires. Most people want to act the exact same way towards the people they care about. They want more love. They want less fear. They want safety. They want comfort. Conflicts make us focus on how we're different. We need to practice seeing how we're alike and become aware that there are times when there are tyrants and there are evil men and there are movements that need to be stopped with violence. And there are times when force is an agent for power structure, corporate, multinational interests. Human life has a value to people. I don't mean it's priceless. I mean there's a value to it. And people, I believe, that at a certain level of puppeteering, human life is absolutely something that is taken into the equation. It clearly is when we go to war. And the way that corporate nations have power, clearly they would make similar type decisions. Certainly, if the brunt of the fee has to be done by the people, especially the poor people. But I don't mean to get political. Simply mean to remind myself that there's always been conflict in the world. I don't see my job on this planet or anyone else's to stop conflict. I see our jobs as promoting love. Conflict will be conflict. And that doesn't mean that, I'm going to run into a battlefield with flowers. I'm saying that there's a time and place for soldiers, and there's a time and place to use our energy towards good, towards positivity, towards the things we want. At the very least, it makes the now moment so much more pleasant, because your world is filled with thoughts of, that would be nice. Not, we must stop this horror. But if you do get sucked into, we must stop this horror, make sure you understand the motivations behind the people that have told you it's horror. So, that being said, let's see if this will play. This is what life is all about.
Touch me. I'm in a shield.
You are?
I'm powerful.
Love shield break. Broke your shield.
No, it's indestructible. Anything your front explodes, you can't even get it.
Not even the super.
That doesn't even explode it either.
You have an indestructible shield?
Uh-huh. It's so destructible, you can't get it out.
Oh, yeah?
Huh?
It's very destructible.
I think you have a weakness on top.
You can't hit it.
That is some shield. comes again. Oh, 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 oh.
Right, isn't he an awesome dad? So, as I listen to that laughter, it's important to remember that all the efforts, all of the fighting, all of the war is to protect that laughter. Not to protect corporate investment, not to make sure oil prices stay down, not to... I'm just not sophisticated enough to understand. I'm only sophisticated enough to know that there's more to the story and that life is not black and white. So when in doubt, make a child laugh or listen to an old person's story. Let's have a hug. As we grab our shoulders, we are grateful for the sacrifices that so many make to ensure freedom and safety. We are grateful for the bodies that we have. We are grateful for the miraculous systems in nature and in our own bodies that maintain such harmony. We wish and visualize and hope that humanity will find such harmony and such balance. And that just like in nature, when there is obstructions to the flow, it self-corrects and returns to harmony as quickly as possible. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the Love Warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you for being here, sharing your heart, opening yourself, allowing a vibration to touch you and connect and amplify what we all bring. Thank you for being you and growing into whatever that is. I love you. Namaste.
You only live once. Enjoy the color.